Okay, boys and girls, I wanted to just review. Talk to you about equivalent fractions real quick. Just another refresher. Equivalent fractions are fractions that we can produce either through simplifying or through, which is dividing fractions by 1, or through multiplication, which is creating an equivalent fraction. The reason we do this is so that we can get fractions together so that we can have common denominators. For instance, real quick, if I have a fraction 3/4, it looks like this. That is 3/4. I have 3 pieces out of 4 total pieces. Okay, so there's my 3/4. If I want to create an equivalent fraction through multiplication, I'm going to multiply 3/4 by 1. In this case, let's say I'm going to do times 2/2. Okay. What I'm going to end up getting is 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. So what I'm basically saying is 3/4, okay, is equivalent to 6/8. And here's how I know. My pie or my pizza never changed. All I did was cut it up again. So right now you can clearly see that 3 out of 4. Now when I create equivalent fraction, watch what happens. I'm in essence just cutting it again. And now you should see 6 out of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of my total of 8. So equivalent fractions are the same size. I didn't lose any amount of pizza. All I did was cut it again. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we're creating equivalent fractions. And remember, when we're multiplying fractions, that's the only time that we go straight across. We straight across on the numerator, straight across on the denominator. Unlike adding and subtracting, comparing fractions, we never touch the denominator. But when we're creating equivalent fractions, in order for us to multiply it by 1 and get something that's equivalent, we have to do the numerator and the denominator both, because we're doing cutting the pieces up. Okay. Now, when I'm doing an equivalent fraction through, say, reducing, simplifying, we've done that before as well. If I want to simplify the fraction 2/4. 2/4 sure you would agree looks like that. 2/4. Now, some of you may already be able to say, hey, I can see that that's half of the pie. And you're right, it is half the pie. So we're going to show you when we're simplifying fractions or reducing fractions, that we're just uncutting the pizza. So I would divide 2/4 by a number that goes into both my numerator, which is 2, and my denominator, which is 4. So you should know that 2 goes into both of those. So if I divide 2/4 by 2/2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I'm creating an equivalent fraction through simplifying it, through division, by reducing it. And what I'm basically doing is I'm uncutting it. And you can see that 2/4, how it started originally, is now the same thing as 1/2 by uncutting it. So when I'm reducing or simplifying, I'm uncutting the pieces down to its simplest form, which is 1/2. Whereas when I'm doing equivalent fractions through multiplication, I'm doing it by 1, which 2/2 is 1. It could be 3/3, 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, 1,000,000/1,000,000. It doesn't matter as long as my numerator and denominator are the same when I'm multiplying, because it has to be 1. And that will give you, and that in essence is how we find common denominators, is through creating equivalent fractions. So I hope that helped.